morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you're watching in the world, welcome along to Season 17 of TTL F1 League 1, and the 8th round takes us to the Singapore Grand Prix. My name is Kieran McGinley. We're here for what could be, potentially, if all the stars align, a championship contender or a championship decided here tonight, and I obviously couldn't do this without my partner in crime in TTL F1 League 1. It's the lovely Mr. James here. James, how are you tonight?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm doing well, Kieran. How's yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm gearing myself up for what potentially could be one of the longest in terms of race time distance on the calendar. So if it rains, James, there could be a really, really long race on our hands. We could be nearing the hour mark.
Yeah, we could be nearing the hour mark, and I think general terms around here, it's about 55 minutes long, the race. Probably one of the longest on the calendar, as you say. I mean, the lap distance is only 5 kilometres, but still, there's 31 laps, and again, it's one of the longest laps around on the calendar. It's going to be so interesting to see how this pans out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've been speaking about it before, James, here tonight. As I said, it could be a championship contender, it could be a championship decided here tonight, so let's take you through those driver standings right now. It is Calsper at the top, 141 points. Recon in second on 67 points. Toxic there on 66. Then it's Chapalele, 65. Warren on 63. Long story short, if Calsper is here tonight and he wins the race, that's the championship done and dusted. A slight twist in the tale is that about 3 or 4 hours ago, Calsper said that he was undergoing controller repairs. So it was nip and tuck whether he'd make it tonight. And I think for Recon, for Toxic, for Chapalele and for Warren, that is a huge lifeline if that's the case.
It could be a big lifeline for sure. He's just arrived, by the way, in the lobby. So Calsper is here. So I noticed he mentioned he'll give us information about half an hour before if he couldn't race. But he's here. So Calsper is here. That now just throws a bit of a hat into the ring for the other guys. Calsper maybe just playing the mind games slightly.
Just very, very slightly. But yeah, that's it. If Calsper manages to win, long story short, that will be it. That's the championship decided. A bit of more of a complex situation will, of course, be the Constructors title. Now, of course, there's 44 points available. That's a very difficult... I've just got my head around the drivers' standings and how to work those out. So you'll have to give me more time to work out the Constructors, that's for sure. I hope you can forgive me. But let's have a look at the Constructor standings whilst we're all here. At the top of the table by 70 points, clear at the top, it is Toro Rosso with Mercedes there in second place, not far behind Renault there, your top three. Red Bull and Williams looking to try and lock out fourth place there. Ferrari and Haas with McLaren looking to battle away towards the back of the field. And then Racing Point and Alfa Romeo, 27 points and 18 points respectively. It's been a topsy-turvy season for most of these teams, but what seems to be the constant is there seems to be a Toro Rosso driver, at least in every race, doing a really good job.
Yeah, Toro Rosso really doing a good job. It was Calsper, obviously, who was up there last time out in Italy and finished, if I'm not mistaken, second. He finished behind Recon. Renault had a really good red letter day, actually, in Italy last time around. Recon and Navy picking up first and third. Championship-wise, Toro Rosso are in front by 70 points coming into tonight. Mercedes on 100 and Renault in on 99 points as well. Renault chomping at the bit at the back of the Mercedes. And hopefully the Renaults will deliver tonight. I have a feeling, to be honest, the Renaults could lead themselves into championship picture here tonight.
They could do, but they need a good result here tonight if that's going to be the case. I mean, they've got Recon spearheading that attack. It's been a quiet season for his teammate, though. Navy, 8th place in the drivers' standings, 32 points to his name. I mean, how would you rate his season so far?
He's had a bit of a topsy-turvy season, and let's have a look actually at some of his results. He didn't finish in Belgium, which was 2 races ago. Picked up his best result of the season, finishing third last time out in Italy, albeit because of the contact with Chapalele round at Ascari. Maybe beginning to come into play, possibly for maybe a good mid-pack battle to develop, and hopefully we're going to be seeing the best of the Renault driver here tonight. Recon has been the flagship for the Renault guys, but Navy might just bring a big shock here tonight.
Yeah, he really could do, and it's all in the balance here with still, in theory, 5 drivers who could win this championship. However, in terms of results, it really is heavily favouring Calsper, who could be taking his first driver's title, and wrap it up, James, with, well, what's that going to be, 3 rounds to go, potentially?
Yeah, with 3 rounds to go, and Calsper, I think, is in the hot seat. He's got to try and deliver his own destiny here tonight. That is the simple matter of things. And hopefully he will be on course for that. I mean, it's 74 points coming into tonight. But, I mean, I've just seen 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. There's 4 points separating 2nd to 5th in the standings. So that is going to be a major battle that could unfold tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, if you're following us here, the championship points still left to score in this championship potentially is 104 points. Remember, there is still that point up for grabs if you finish inside the top 10 and manage to secure yourself with the fastest lap of the race. So we shall see how that pans out. But yeah, realistically speaking, all Calsper has to do, really, is finish ahead of Recon, ahead of Toxic, ahead of the other championship rivals in Shapalele and Warren there. And he's got himself a championship to take home. And I think, to be fair, with his results this season, well, rain in qualifying. How about that? Now, let's have a look at see what tyres are available. Full wets are the default starting tyre here. This could be an interesting one. If it's dry in the Grand Prix, in the race, then we're going to see drivers on wet tyres trying to tiptoe around on dry setups. I'm rubbing my hands together. This is going to be a good one.
This is going to be a really exciting one. And to be honest, I'm going to let you into a bit of a secret here. This is my first wet qualifying ever in Singapore.
Really?
Never had one before. Yeah, never had one before. But thank God it came tonight. TTL F1, championship up for grabs. Bring it on.
Absolutely, and we've got cars firing up their engines there. We've got, I believe that's a Racing Point in the distance there, leaving the pit lane. And there's only one Racing Point here with us tonight, and it is Spike. And you can see the rain is pouring down here as Spike leaves the pit lane. He will be the first out onto track, and it's going to be quite a long hot lap here when we're talking about it. I mean, James and I were doing laps in the 2010 McLaren. You can see Spike is already just struggling with that back end already.
Oh my God.
That is quite a car to drive, that is for sure. But yeah, we were setting, high or mid 139s if you were James. But yeah, even in those cars, we're still going to be expecting, 136s, 137s, maybe even lower than that, especially when it comes to qualifying. But in the rain, that's where it all goes a bit topsy-turvy. We're looking at 150s in the rain, definitely. And when you're looking at a 31-lap race, this could really test the driver's patience and, of course, the driver's ability in the wet weather. So it's going to be, if it rains, one of the most physically and mentally demanding Grand Prix on the calendar.
It will be, and for sure. And honestly, these guys have really got to stay quite close and not make any mistakes. Very hard to do when it's wet conditions, of course. Just to speak about in terms of intermediates to dries, if it was intermediate conditions, it's normally about 10 seconds between intermediates to dries around here. It's something like 9.5 seconds. For full wets, it's about 18, 19, we're looking on 20 seconds difference between dries and wets. So you're going to be seeing lap times probably in and around the mid-150s, I think, out on track tonight in qualifying. And if it's a wet race, then goodness me, it's going to throw a big hat right into the ringer.
Yeah, absolutely, it will. But we're on board with Spike then as he makes his way in through the last part of this lap. And I've got to see if I can get just the track map up, because that would be ideal. Yes, I can. Here we go then. So he rounds his way through the final couple of corners and onwards now towards the final double left-hander here. It's normally just drop a gear in the drive, but nowhere near that through turn 21 and onwards now towards the start-finish line. Very short start-finish straight. You'd have DRS here if it was in the dry, and then braking now down the gears through turn 1, really tiptoeing your way through turn 2 and then through turn 3 there, trying to go full block to the left there was Spike. Careful on the exit here. There's quite a bit of undulation, even though it is a street circuit. There's still that bumpy exits there, especially on the exit of turn number 3. There we go through turn 4 and then through turn 5. Now it's the fast right-hander of turn 6, still flat out in the wet there. It's only a very shallow curve as we reach the end of the first sector. In towards turn 7 we go, and again, trying to mount the curbs here. The curbs are not your friends when it comes to these wet weather conditions, really slowing it down for turn 8. Lots of 90-degree corners and lots of shallow apexes as well. Turn 9 is one of them. The apex is a lot later than you think in this corner then. Straight as you can towards turn 10 and the old Singapore sling. There used to be a series of chicanes here that you take flat out, but now it's just a flat piece of track. Now we head in towards turn 11, through turn 12 and across the Anderson Bridge, through towards the hairpin of turn 13, and you're almost braking and turning there. Watch out on that right-hand side. That will catch out a front right-hand tyre if you're not careful and if you're not precise enough on the entry there. Heading towards the end of the second sector and onwards now towards turn 14, another 90-degree corner, this time to the right here. Lots of curbs and undulation here. Use that track on the left-hand side. Don't use too much though, don't go over the white line, otherwise you'll invalidate your lap time. Heading in through 15, then through turn 16 here, under the bridge through turn 17. Then we go underneath the grandstands as we head in towards turn 18 here. 90-degree left turn under the grandstand. There we go, so you get a little bit of shelter here before you're straight back into the rain through turn 19. Now in towards turn 20. Again, trying to keep it nice and tidy through here, through turn 21. And then we're heading onwards now towards the final few corners, turns 22 and 23. Of course, you can see down to 4th gear to keep the traction there. Backhand wanting to step out over the crest and across the line. Spike there, 158.002, and instantly beaten then by Toxic, 156.0. 2 seconds quicker in the Red Bull. Chapalele 154.7. They're all coming through now thick and fast in these lap times, and we'll have to keep an eye on these lap times and on these weather conditions, because of course in the wet weather, the longer you run on these tyres, in theory, the faster you get, because the tyres get more acclimatised to these conditions. The delta when you wear out these tyres is minimal in the time you lose. So the idea is just get as many laps as you can on these tyres and you should be in for a good shout.
You should be in for a good shout, and to be honest, Chapalele off a first lap at 154.7 might already be the time to beat. That's already ahead of even my prediction of a mid-150, so Chapalele doing a good job out on track. Obviously, everyone has got to wear on the tyres, and it will, obviously, as the track acclimatises, the tyres will get quicker. And hopefully, fingers crossed and toes crossed and touch wood, we might see a bit of a dry up in the conditions towards the end of the session. But goodness only knows. It's Singapore and it's in the wet. So goodness only knows. Just to speak about as well, Toxic, second, 56 flat, was visibly quicker than Spike on his lap completely. I was on board with him and really nailed the lap. Just lost it in a little bit of opposite lock at moments through the corners. But Toxic doing a good job in second position. But honestly, this is something I've never seen before.
Wet weather qualifying here at Singapore is not for the faint-hearted, as we saw Sean there going across the line, 58.1 from the Haas driver. Still awaiting lap times for one of the championship contenders. Warren here trying to tiptoe his way through, and then onwards towards the last sector here, through 15, then towards turn 16. You can see these treacherous conditions, James. This rain right now has not let up so far.
No, rain hasn't let up so far, and the more the rain comes down, the more this is going to turn into a bit of an ice rink out on track. The only cover that these guys get, it was through that grandstand section, just underneath there. That's the only shelter that these guys get, and maybe under the underpass as well, coming through turn 22. But coming through the final two corners now, Dil Warren looking good. He's going to go in and around 5th or 6th, I think, with this lap. Across the line, goes 5th. And that's a prediction I've got right already. So
yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
The one and only one. That's the one that matters. One Renault, sorry, has gone 4th place. That's Recon there, up into 4th place. So far, then, Kalsper, championship leader, and has a chance to wrap up the title here today. Well, easy races never come along in Formula One, but this is not the way he wanted to start this one.
Definitely not. And I think for Kalsper, his focus is going to be on the cars ahead, really, in terms of trying to put another gap out to the guys behind in the championship. Just looking on board, it was a 30.6 through the first sector for Kalsper, so he's looking good through the first sector and really nailing the middle sector so far. Let's see what a split let's see what a split is like through the middle sector, and it's a sub 115, so this is looking like a good lap. But just as soon as I say that, commentators curse him and he goes a little bit wide.
dear, James, you got to stop with these commentator curses, man. You're going to put all these drivers out of a job, but there we go. He's still making his way through and looking to just get as many laps on these tyres as possible. Obviously, with the dry weather qualifying, normally you'd see drivers do one lap, come back to the pits, change tyres and go again, but Navy getting a little bit sideways through the final corner as Westy goes up to P2 there in that slipstream of the Renault with a 155.8, but no one at the moment getting close to Chapelele in the Williams, who's got front wing damage actually.
Yeah, Carlsberg going 5 tenths behind Chapelele there, and Chapelele has picked up front wing damage. Right side end plates, I can only assume that's probably somewhere in the middle sector where he's clipped the wall through the on the right hand side end plate. But we're halfway through qualifying. Chapelele on top, Carlsberg second. Westy, by the way, just got held up at the end of his lap by Navy. Wasn't running in the slipstream as much as what you would think, but 55.8 was a very nice lap from him. Navy just in front was starting another lap, so he's now on that other lap. Slimble's gone 5th, Dilwarren goes 2nd. The times are flying in.
Absolutely, 56.3 from Slimbo there. Recon then 55.8. This is what I'm talking about with a wet weather qualifying. Of course, you won't ever see these tyres ever again in this qualifying session, so just make the most of them. Get some laps in, just keep going. And also, if it does rain in the race, then you've got some perfect practice conditions to do so.
You've got perfect practice conditions for sure, and obviously these guys will feel acclimatised if it is going to be a wet race. Just having a look at the comment section, I'll load them up in just a second, see if we've had any weather reports from any of the drivers out on track. And let me have a gander at this. No weather reports, apparently.
None at all.
Reports.
Yeah, they don't even know. The drivers don't even know. Warren 55.0 actually, now within 3 tenths of Chapelele. Carlsberg 55.2 puts himself now onto the second row of the grid. Ooh. So as you can see, it's very difficult to keep up with these lap times, but Navy's just tiptoeing his way through the final couple of corners, and the rain's eased up. I'm pretty sure you're going to point that out, James. Rain has eased up, and we could be looking at intermediate conditions very soon.
We should see the delta times for Inters, I would say, within around 2 or 3 minutes. So these guys obviously are going to pit in, go into the pits. The majority of them are coming into the pits, so they feel that the intermediate conditions is now the right tyres to go on. Recon is on a wet set of tyres. So is Navy. He improved 2 tenths on his lap at 156.3. But intermediate conditions should be a couple of minutes away. You should see the first cars begin to come out the pit lane very soon with that green wall compound of tyre on.
Well, I mean, Spike is really trying to lure us over to watch him because he's currently ready to go out on a set of soft tyres. So we'll have to see how that goes on. One of the drivers in that midfield there was going to put on a set of wet weather tyres. I'm pretty sure that was going to be either Cass or Toxic there, but we switched back to the wet weather tyres. And of course, if it gets drier at the end of the race, or at the end of qualifying, I should say, then yes, we could see intermediate tyres at the end. But is it worth going on to the intermediate tyres now and seeing what the conditions are like, or waiting? Because now it comes down to this. If the rain eases up any more, it could be dry tyres towards the end of the race. So now the drivers really have to think, is it worth trying to expend a set of intermediate tyres to see if I can get myself up the leaderboard? Or will I just find myself in the wall?
I've got to be honest, I think the set of wets is currently the best, because I'm seeing a few drivers switching from inters to the wets. I've just seen Sean do that. He was going to go out on a set of inters, has now switched it to a set of wet compound of tyres. So clearly the delta time is not there. They're probably having a bit of a fiddle about with the X and Y, the X and square button, to be honest, and with the D-pad to see what's going on. Sean is back on a set of inters, so we should see first drivers coming out very soon, I think. Maybe on a set of inters, but there may be quite a difference in the strategies. I think the time, though, for inters should be soon, as there are cars coming out the pits now.
Yes,
looks like it's inters for most of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, who's that coming out of the pits first?
Westy.
And it's an Alfa Romeo. It is, you're right, Westy there, coming out of the pit lane onto a set of intermediate tyres. Now, he's got to be careful. You'll be able to see on board with Westy, there's a certain line that they have to take in order to really maximise these intermediate tyres. You can see there's just a bit of a darker patch on the racing line, and of course the wet weather tyres can pretty much displace 70 litres of water every second. That's right, every second. So it's fair to say that once the rain eases off slightly, that wet weather or that line is going to get much less water on it. Standing water on the line helps to keep the wet weather tyres temperatures down, but once that starts to be expelled to the outer regions of the circuit, that's where you're going to see the intermediate tyres take full effect. Now, of course, the intermediate tyres are for those in between. They're literally in between the dry and the wet weather tyres. They've got the grooves there to dispel some water, but they don't give you enough grip, and you've got the real risk of aquaplaning if the weather conditions are just too wet for the tyres. So these are good good tyres, pretty much on your road car, but you wouldn't use them for too long in the dry weather conditions, otherwise you will absolutely burn them asunder, and they'll quickly become a useless set of slick tyres. Just won't give you any grip whatsoever.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, the Exinters, hopefully we're going to see the first indication of whether the tyres are right. They must be right, because the majority of the guys have now came out. So the Delta time, as I rightfully predicted, again, 2 predictions right tonight. You can take a shot for every prediction I get right. Don't encourage drinking, by the way.
Yeah, that's the last shot you're having tonight, that's for sure.
But Wesley, yeah, he's just about to start a lap, and visibly the track is getting quicker, and visibly he looks quicker on this outlap compared to what he was on the wet side of tyres. 55.8, that will not last, but just as soon as I've said that, he's made a mistake through the final corner.
Yeah, it's all about confidence in these conditions. Now, he may have made a mistake on that last corner. However, if the track conditions are like this and there's still a little bit of rain, and the intermediate tyres are just going to get better and better. What's important is he keeps that car on the island and just tries to set as many quick lap times as he possibly can. Also, on a lap time, looks like Warren is making his way through turns 1, 2 and 3 there, just trying to keep that back end tidy on the exit. I think Sean is also trying to follow him through, which he is there, as now they make their way towards turn 5. But yeah, with these intermediate conditions, it is going to be very, very difficult to keep these cars on the track. But they'll find the more running they do now on these intermediate tyres, the less water there is on the line, and the better these intermediate tyres will perform. It's sort of like a compromise of performance to begin with. You get the worst of it out of the way, and then eventually the intermediates just click on, and you're able to be much more confident on them.
Yeah, exactly, and I think we're going to see a scenario, to be honest, where the last person across the line could get pole position. That is probably what we're going to be focusing on possibly tonight. It looks to me as if the rain is stopping again. Westy on a lap, he was 3 tenths down through the first sector. Let's see what he's like through the middle sector. I think he's down again. He's only down by a tenth though, so clearly the tyres are now beginning to come into play. So I would say in a lap or two, or certainly towards the end of the session, and certainly towards, if we're going to get last across the line, we could see pole position come very, very late on.
Yeah, and of course it's going to be that real transition period between the two tyres. As James has said, we're pretty much over with that transition period, and I think Westy has backed out of his lap here to just ready to go again. He knows it wasn't the best lap in the world. Warren, meanwhile, making his way now underneath the grandstand through turn 19. He'll go. Then it's turns 20 and 21 coming up. As we make our way through that chicane, he's got to keep it all together here as he now makes his way towards the final 2 corners then. Let's see what this lap time is going to be. Is it going to be one of those lap times that gets him onto pole position? It is a 54.5 there from Warren, and that is the fastest lap of this session. Shapalele in the pit lane then has retired, so he's missed out on the chance to run in this session late on these intermediate tyres. That's going to come back to bite him, that is for sure.
Oh, no, exactly, and I think around this track, overtaking is at a premium, so he's going to be really struggling. If everyone improves on a set of wets to a set of inters and improves ahead of Shapalele, it's not going to look too great for him, I think, in this race. But hopefully, you never know, we might be wrong, and the inters might just not come into play towards the end of this session. Just run on board with Toxic across the line. Oh, 54.1, there you go. 2 seconds improvement by Toxic, so inters now beginning to come into play. But are we going to see last across the line get pole position? I think last across the line is going to come from that selection of cars coming into the final sector now. The 2 Ferraris I'm looking at especially.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a Williams out there as well. That's the Gort. I believe he's on a flying lap at the moment as he now tries to make his way in through the tricky section there of turn 17. Loses that back end and then just pulls instantly to the left-hand side to let Kalsper through. And speaking of Kalsper, I believe he's on a lap right now as he makes his way underneath the grandstand and onwards now towards turns 20 and 21. Now this is going to be a chance for Kalsper to get himself on to that championship top step. He makes his way now around the final 2 corners and towards the line. What's this going to be? A 52.9 from Kalsper, but can anybody go quicker? We've got Westy, I believe, is coming towards the line, then round the final 2 corners and onwards towards the start-finish line. P2 for Westy at this moment in time, but expect that leaderboard to shuffle around so much in these closing laps, or in this lap alone. Warren comes towards the line. It is a 53.6, but he invalidated the lap, so it will not count. Sean coming towards the line, goes to P9, 55.5 there. We've got Spike, who's trying to make his way now round the final corner, 4/10 quicker through this middle sector as he makes his way now towards the line, 54.6 from the racing point, which now puts him onto the 3rd row of the grid. We've got Abu, who's out there at the moment, but Toxic is one driver to watch. He's half a second quicker now in the 2nd sector. Is it going to be enough, though, to try and grab pole position away from Kalsper? This is a lap he needs to be great through the final 2 corners, and now towards the start-finish line. Is it pole position? No, it's not. He misses out by just over 1/10 of a second. Recon here now coming through the final 2 corners and towards the start-finish line. He loses that back end and still puts it in 3rd place there. Navy now coming around the final 2 corners and onwards towards the start-finish line. Again, wayward through the last corner, but still P3. Great lap there from Navy to out-qualify his teammate. Abu then makes his way around the final corner and onwards towards the start-finish line. 54.9 from Abu there. And Carlsbury, his one and only lap, puts him into P11. Cass then making his way around the final corner. Can he get his way up the order? He can, up to P12, and his teammate won't be too far behind. In fact, gets himself all the way up there. I think that was on the 2nd row of the grid, but that is going to be your pole sitter, and in prime position to try and take this championship away. Kalsper with yet another pole position.
Great qualifying session that, and only a 10th of a second between Kalsper and Toxic. Toxic really made up the time in that final sector. Just very unlucky, just got a bit squirrely coming through into the final sector. If that wasn't the case, I think he would have beaten Kalsper for pole.
Well, Kalsper is on pole position, then Toxic in 2nd with Navy 3rd, Slimbo in 4th, Recon 5th with Westy 6th, Warren in 7th with Spike in 8th, Chapalalia 9th, and Abu rounds out the top 10. Carlsbury in 11th, Cass in 12th, Sean in 13th, and the Gort there in P14. But just over a 10th of a second in that hectic qualifying session is all that separates pole position here. Kalsper, meanwhile, remember, he's only... he's on 141 points, 74 points ahead of Recon, who finds himself a bit down the order. All Kalsper really needs to do for himself, if he wins this race, he's won the championship. Simply put.
Yep, simple as that. Simple as that, he will win the championship. It is a dry start to the race, whether there's going to be any rain, of course, coming into play. And we can actually take you through, hopefully, while we start the formation up, we can take you through, actually, the track graphic that we're going to see. It's going to be a one-stop strategy from a set of medium compound of tyres, which these guys may go on. It will be from around lap 8 to lap 11. That is when the pit stops are going to be made, and they are going to go 20 laps onto a set of hard compound of tyres. If the guys, however, start on a set of soft compound of tyres, they're only going to be lasting between laps 4 to 7. So anywhere in between that is when the pit stops are going to be made as a result. And then they will go to lap 22, and that will be a 2-stop strategy for those guys out on track. Now, it looks like most guys might be going mediums or hards, actually, except from Carlsbury, who's gone for a set of softs. Wow.
Well. So, as you said, James, hard to medium is going to be the ideal strategy from today. As you saw there, the race lap record was set all the way back in season 13 by Ollie, with 1:36 there, I believe it was. We saw last week there, I believe it was at the Italian Grand Prix, we beat the qualifying lap record set by Blizzard only a couple of seasons ago by just about 2 to 3 thousandths of a second, but it's now a new qualifying lap record. We'll have to wait and see if the lap record is going to be broken here tonight. I mean, medium tyres towards the end of the race looks promising, but the soft tyres here, although they give you a really good speed advantage, the only problem with them is that they grain really, really quickly. If you're going to be using them, as you see, the medium tyres will have to be your early port of call, and Carlsbury's looking to be the only driver on that strategy right now.
Carlsberg is the only one on that strategy. He's on a set of soft compound tyres. He's only going to be lasting, as I say, between laps 4 to 7 on that set of soft compound tyres, and it's really up to him if he wants to go for a set of hard compound tyres or a set of mediums towards the end of the race. I would probably prefer to go hard and be on the safe side. 20, it'd be about 24 laps, I think, on a set of hard compound tyres, which are manageable as well on the mediums. But I'm talking about tyre wear. It's going to be about anywhere between 16% to 20% tyre wear for Carlsberg on that set of soft compound tyres. The guys on the set of hards, it's probably going to be anywhere between 3 and 4% per lap. So that over 4 laps is about 12 to 16%. So you can really see the difference in the tyres by that. Top 3, quickly, who are you going for?
Oh, well, you know what, Calsper there, it's just come up on the graphic, as you can see, or probably have seen. All he needs to do is score 4 points, so I don't know. So P8 is all he needs to wrap up this championship, but I'm sure he'll like to win this championship with a win. I can see Recon trying to recover, so too Warren, but Warren seems to struggle on the street circuit, so we'll have to keep an eye on him in this race. However, the cars line up onto the grid for what could be a championship deciding race here at Singapore. Season 17, the 8th round of this season. We are moments away from the Singapore Grand Prix, and as we count up to the signal of the start of this race, we are underway, and what are the starts like? It's a good start there from Kalsborough, and it's a great start there from Navy. You can see Toxic trying to cover him off. Slimbo's trying to look down the inside, but he hesitates, and Recon sweeps around the outside to take some position. It's a great start from Recon there. Throughout the field then, Warren, there's a little bit of contact. That was Carlsbury into the wall. I'm on the soft tyre. That's the last thing he wanted. Shapalele's trying to make a move up the inside of Warren here. Warren goes around the outside simply at turn 5 there and takes advantage and moves up a position, but Shapalele is nowhere near done with him just yet. Looking for a move there. You can see Warren going defensive in the background. You've got Sean there going up the inside of Spike. Spike sweeps around the outside there and takes position away. 10th place Shapalele now going up the inside of Carlsbury. Carlsbury there just even with front wing damage still gets the move signed, sealed and delivered. He's got damage on the right hand side of that front wing. He picked it up when he clattered the wall on the exit of turn 3 there, so he's got to be careful now. His stint won't last as long as the others, so I'm pretty sure he's thinking in the back of his mind to just keep on the throttle here. Carlsbury looking for a move up the inside of Warren there, and luckily Warren left the door slightly ajar so that the move could have been done if he really wanted to. But for me, Carlsbury has got to stay out now. He's got to try and make this soft stint work, and especially with a field that's as close as this, he's just got to keep his wits about him. He'll have clear air in about 4 or 5 laps time, so there's no point pitting in this early on, and it's a long, long race here at Singapore. There you can see Kalsper still leading the way. Now, what's important to him is that he just makes it to the checkered flag. No mistakes he wants. He wants a nice, clean, just easy race to the end, but of course no race is easy. He makes his way now across the start finish line to complete the first lap. Toxic running very wide on the last corner, so too does Recon, so too does Carlsbury, but of course he's got front wing damage. You can sort of aside with that one. Shapalele is into the pits then, the Williams into the pits. Let's see what's going on. Of course he is one of the championship contenders, 4th place in the championship, 65 points to his name, and he finds himself into the pits. I wonder what's going on here then. Is it a front wing change? It is a front wing change. So did he get caught up with Carlsbury there at turn 3?
Yeah, left side winglet damage, I think, for Shapalele. So he's into the pits. Onto a set of medium compound tyres now. 30 laps on a set of mediums, I think, is pretty much do or die around here. But it can be done. I've seen it done before on a set of medium compound tyres. Carlsbury, by the way, he went around the outside of Spike. Spike pulled a Sergio Perez, by the way, through turn 1, cut completely the inside, let everyone through on the inside through turn 2. He pulled the Sergio Perez. But Carlsbury is beginning to try and motor into contention, but overtaking around here is at a premium. It's impossible to try and get any overtakes done except from the straights.
I think what he's planning to do now, especially now that he's got a bit of front wing damage, is just to rely on that clean air that he'll have towards the middle stint, or at least towards lap 5 and 6 to pit in, although he'll lose a chunk of time whilst the team are changing that front wing. That's the only problem with that. Riding on board with Slimbo, by the way, who's up to 5th place, and what would be great to see is if we can see the position changes. Slimbo's down to 5th, I should say. He started 4th in this race. Carlsbury's up 3 places with that front wing damage. Sean up 3. Those are your sort of joint biggest winners, but Shafalele down 5 places. He's been to the pit lane to repair a front wing, and he's down in 14th place. And then Kalsper sets the fastest lap of the race too. What he'll want there is pole position and fastest lap of the race along with a win. Just completely dominate today. That would be the way he wants to round off this championship. He's already 1.8 seconds clear of Toxic here, and Navy's right on the back of him.
Toxic's got right side end plate damage. I think he's hit the wall coming out of turn 2. And again, he nearly hits the wall on the exit of turn 3. You can see Toxic right side end plate damage. End plate completely gone off on the cars. He's made a significant mistake into the wall through turn 2. And now Navy and Recon, the 2 Renaults, are hunting down. And my God, this could do a world of good for their constructors battle.
Absolutely, and I hope you're enjoying the stream as well. Of course, Tom is on the race director end, and he's giving you all these fantastic graphics and replays, so I hope you're enjoying it and reliving the past. The only unfortunate thing is, James, we can't relive the past, so that replay commentary will just have to wait a couple more seasons. It's taken 11 seasons to get someone competent with OBS. Give us a few seasons more.
Navy very close to the back of Toxic, just running through the hairpin after the Anderson Bridge section. Looks like Dill Warren might have had a little bit of contact with the wall there. He might have got caught on the inside, and now Carsbury trying to take full advantage. Down the inside he comes. Westy just in front of these two as well. Carsbury and Dill Warren still side by side, but Dill just about hanging on to the position. Is Carsbury not going to lunge it down the inside here, surely? And that was never going to work, I think, for Carsbury. Little bit of, I'm not going to say over-aggressive driving, but a little bit of impatience, I think, from Carsbury. And he nearly clips into the back of Dill Warren as well. He wants to get on with things, but Dill just wants to hang back a bit. And we're just seeing a bit of a clash between the two.
Absolutely, but the thing is, Carsbury knows he has to be aggressive because he's got the front wing damage. So he knows here, as you said, James, overtaking here is at a premium. So he knows he's got to get in front, and at least through the mid-speed corners, he'll have some chance of keeping up with the guys around him. Oh, Navy getting a tank slapper there, going through turn 4, somehow keeps control of the car, but Recon might be thinking this is his chance to try and go and sweep around his teammate then as we head away through turn 6. Recon's now got the inside line for turn 7 here. It's Renault versus Renault, and Recon takes the inside line and moves ahead of Navy then as we make our way now up towards turn 8. But my goodness, Navy is a very, very lucky boy.
He is a very lucky boy, and to be honest, I think Toxic might have done the same thing that lap before, where he picked up the front wing damage. I would imagine that's why he lost 2 seconds over Kalsper in that corner alone. Recon now on the back of Toxic, and I think Navy probably just had a little bit of an inkling to let him through as well, to try and hold up Slimbo in behind, because Slimbo is beginning to look quite quick out on track. The Ferrari man currently in 5th, and on the back of Navy, again overtaking at a premium. Kalsper's championship hopes though, big boost, Toxic 3.1 seconds away. He's completely out of tow from anyone else in behind. Kalsper is dominating so far. We're only on to the end of lap 4.
Yeah, the fact that Toxic has got front wing damage will help him to no end, but what he's got to do is guard against complacency. The last thing he can do is think this is wrapped up before we're even halfway through, before we're even a quarter of the way through. We've still got 30 laps to go here at Singapore, maybe even just slightly less than that, but yeah, the last thing you could do is get complacent. Carsbury, they're picking up a 3-second time penalty. I'm not surprised. He probably has to try and turn in a bit earlier than the other drivers around him, and well, obviously that gets him a few quarter cut warnings and eventually a penalty. So on top of that, he'll have to pretty much take the penalty of changing his front wing at a pit stop.
Oh! Toxic into the wall coming out of turn 4. Sorry, apologies there, Kieran. Recon now down the inside. He's got end plate damage on both end plates. That was a significant hit on the wall.
Well. I mean, Toxic's, in that case then, James, he's very lucky to keep all 4 wheels on that car then, Toxic, as we make our way now towards turn 10, the old Singapore sling. But Recon is piling on the pressure to Toxic here. Recon, 2nd place in the championship, 67 points. Toxic just behind him in the championship, 66. Recon will be desperate to try and get past Toxic. This is sort of Vitaly Petrov and Fernando Alonso a la Abu Dhabi 2010.
It is exactly that, and Recon is looking a lot quicker now than Toxic. Toxic is low. The advantage for him, he's going to be holding up the guys in behind, which is only going to let Kalsper's advantage grow and grow over the course of a lap. Toxic, I think, though, has got to be bold and brave. He's got to pit now. Either for a set of mediums, maybe. Well, he's got to go for a set of mediums because he can't go on a set of hards because that'll be an infringement of the regulations. But significant damage coming through the exit of turn 4. Recon is on the back. We should see Toxic pit in. He's not going to though. I think I would have pitted there if I was him. But Recon now on the back. This should be a job done down towards turn 1.
He moves to the left-hand side of the track then, and he moves down the inside in towards turn 1, and he's got the move done then. The thing about Toxic, though, is that he's got to make this hard stint last. He's got to go for as long as possible and try and get the earliest possible chance to go onto those medium tyres there. That's the only way he can salvage something in this race. If he pits now, he's committing to a 3-stop even, maybe even a 2-stop. You can see here Navy right on the back of Toxic then, looking down the inside in towards turn 7, makes contact with the Red Bull. Red Bull runs wide, and Navy basically concedes the position back, but he's now letting Slimbo all the way through there. We've seen Chapalele's out. Now Navy looking down the inside. Slimbo just trying to make a way through, but he can't quite do it. Navy got that position back, and now Slimbo's right on the back of the Renault. You can see as well Westy and Warren getting involved in this as well, snaking our way through now across the Anderson Bridge and down towards the hairpin at turn 13, just to catch up with myself there. Chapalele retired from the race then and is out of the Singapore Grand Prix. So we're down to 13 runners. He retired in the pit lane, and that will be his day done. But Slimbo really looking to try and take advantage of Navy there, who was clearly on the back of Toxic, wanting to get the move done, but just maybe a little bit too over-ambitious there. He knows the car in front has front wing damage. That's the problem. And when you know someone in front of you has front wing damage, the desperation to get past them just ramps up a million miles a second. You want to get that move done. You know you have to. If you're behind them any longer, you're going to lose even more time. And unfortunately for Navy, he just tried to commit to the move way too soon.
Yeah, he did, definitely. But he is beginning to get back up onto the back again of Toxic in front. At 7/10 of a second as they come through turn 1 again. Just to go on board, actually, as Toxic picks up a 3-second time penalty. Mediums, hards to mediums. Most of these guys, obviously, on the strategies. Westy has left the session as desynced, I think, out of the session. So Warren is going to go past him. Lap 18 to lap 23 should be the optimal time to see the pit window for hards to mediums out on track. It's going to be quite tricky for some of these guys, especially with front wing damage, to get around to that point. Maybe if they knock a couple of laps off that, they can probably get a set of mediums to the end of the race. But lap 18 to lap 23, pretty much the optimal window out on track.
Westy has rejoined back into the session, but it will take him time to jump back into the car. He's now down in 7th place and is losing tenths of a second by the corner, let alone by the sector, as he looks to try and rejoin as soon as he possibly can. Navy still trying to put some pressure on Toxic here. The only solace that Navy has is that Toxic is going to have a much longer pit stop when he has to change that front wing. Recon, though, is up to 2nd place and has a chance here to try and close in on Calsper. 5.5 is the gap so far.
Yeah, 5.5 seconds. That might not, well, that does seem like quite a lot, but around this track it's not that much. One hit to the wall will knock a second off your time. Guaranteed, especially if you pick up front wing damage. Toxic very sideways, by the way, coming through the grandstand section underneath and now through turns 20 and 21 out on track. Slimbo's looking all over the back of Navy. Arguably, I think he's looking quicker with these 3 drivers. Warren has just dropped off the pace slightly. Navy 3-second time penalty. That might be costly, but Toxic, remember, has got one ahead of him as well. So they're pretty much playing at evens as Slimbo's right on the back of Navy through turn 1, and he's absolutely feathering the throttle to try and get past these 2. It's just a matter of time. Slimbo's going to be in 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely, as we make our way now in through turn 5 and then onwards towards turn 6. Let's see if we can jump on board with Navy. DRS wide open now. Surely a move is open through turn 7 here. Toxic, you can see, going defensive towards turn 7, getting to the inside line. Navy's going to have to go the long way round here, and he has to go off the track because Toxic was in no mood to leave that door open. And once again, Toxic defends really well there into turn 7. He's aggressive, he's got his elbows out, and he's proving that he's not going to be a slouch here, even with that front wing damage.
Yeah, I took that from Slimbo's perspective, and to be honest, it was actually Navy just outbreaking himself slightly in towards that corner, which forced Toxic down the inside line and completely taken it. Plenty of room was given. It was just Navy purely making a little bit of a mistake. What this has done, though, is bring Dill Warren back into play on the back of this. So it's a 4-car battle, apologies, for a battle for 3rd position out on track. This could get quite tasty. Carlsberg Recon looking quite similar in terms of pace, 5.6 seconds in terms of the gap. Toxic, though, is holding these guys up an absolute treat. You know what, I could let the guys like Westy, Sean get into play if he stays out quite long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Westy, after his desync and loss of connection here, is now down to 4.6 seconds. Navy is really wanting to try and get this move done. We're going to jump on board with Slimbo here because Navy's got a compromised exit as we make our way now in towards 22 and 23. DRS wide open for Navy and for Slimbo. Will Navy try and move down the inside? No, he won't. He thinks better of it and has to wait again until turn 7. But we've seen already how the Red Bull is going to defend. Now it's up to Navy to try and get a reaction. As you can see there, Warren getting a little bit squirrely on the exit of turn 3 there through turn 4 and loses himself a couple of tenths of a second. This is Navy's chance now once again through turn 6. He think he knows where this Red Bull is going to go down the inside. As he know, he sticks to the racing line this time. Navy up the inside in towards turn 7. Has he got the move done? He'll be on the outside for turn 8 here as the Red Bull desperately tries to hang on to third place. Oh, they've come together. Navy's into the wall, and with that loss of downforce there for Toxic, he was always going to understeer, and Navy into the wall.
Yeah, Navy, wrong place at the wrong time. Toxic with the front wing damage. Obviously, going side by side is very tricky into that corner, and to be honest, I've seen that time and time again. Normally, when you go side by side in towards the end of the first sector and in towards the start of the second sector, it's never really going to end well. But that has actually proven that Slimble was the quicker driver, I think, out of the two, because he got a tremendous run and probably would have got onto the back of Toxic and Navy if it wasn't for the contact anyways. And he's now on the back of Toxic, and again, it's surely just a matter of time where he's going to be in third position. Not the way you would have hoped to do it, though.
Well, you can see there, Toxic's front wing. You might as well just have a dinner plate on the front end, or a dinner tray at least. There's no end plates on that front wing, and the tyres, especially the front tyres, must be screaming in absolute agony. What that's going to do then is have a compound effect. So his front tyre wear is going to be a lot worse than Slimbo's and for Warren's, because the front tyres are having to work even harder without the assistance of the aerodynamic at the front. Lap 10 then of the Singapore Grand Prix. Carlsberg leads by 5.7 seconds ahead of Recon. Then Navy comes into the pits then to replace that front wing, and he might try and take those medium tyres to the end of this race. Slimbo, though, it's now his turn to try and find a way past Toxic, and he's quickly the Ferrari being hounded by Warren there as we make our way in through turn 6 onwards towards turn 7. Slimbo is closing up by the absolute margin here. He'll have to go round the outside at turn 7, locks up there, and Toxic finds the way back through. Warren now on the outside of turn 8 there. Can he get the traction down then? They're still side by side as we head through turn 9, and the Mercedes gets the move done, spotted that chance there, sniffed it out, and Warren now moves up to P4. It's his turn now.
Yeah, Slimble thought he was clear of Toxic. That's why the contact was made slightly. Now that's forced Warren into fourth. A perfect scenario for Warren to really take the grasp of the neck from Slimbo, and now Warren now in P4, 6 tenths behind Toxic. He could then drag Slimbo back into play. So this three-car battle with Westy is only 1.6 seconds in behind as well. I don't know where he's came from in clear air. He's going to be onto the back within a lap, surely, as well. It could be a 4-car battle for third again.
Well, it could be. I mean, what's going to help is that Toxic, Warren, Slimbo, and Nave are all battling, and when you're battling a car, you're losing time. If you're battling a car that's got front wing damage, you're losing even more time. So that's what's allowed Westy to close up so quickly. Now 1.6 seconds behind here. This battle for a potential podium. Slimbo now right on the back of Warren here. He's got a really good run through 22 and 23. He might try for a move up the inside at turn 1, you know. He's got the Mercedes on the right-hand side. He does try and go for the move then. He'll be on the outside for turn 2, but on the inside for turn 3. Can he get this move done? Can he get the traction down? You can see then the Mercedes still on the outside, and Slimbo still they're going side by side then around the outside at turn 5, and Warren's lost that back end there, and Slimbo's able to take full advantage. Actually, no, he didn't lose the back end, the Mercedes there. That looked like on the camera that he did, but Warren's got ahead. Slimbo trying to battle away, and Warren, after all that, has just they've come together. Warren lost the back end and collected Slimbo. Slimbo with nowhere to go finds the wall and loses that chunk of front wing. Just a complete racing incident there.
Yeah, Warren's gone straight on into the runoff area as well, and has actually retired from the session. Retired within the points. Slimbo bought no front wing. Just simple. I was just about to commend them both for fighting so hard. It was such a great battle between them both. Just one bit of unfortunate contact. They got caught on the outside curb, and that Slimbo was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, simply. Now that's put Westy up the fourth.
Yeah, and I think Warren is instantly in the chat there apologising to Slimbo. That's why he retired. But, you know, at the end of the day, Warren lost the back end. I think, really, there's not really a lot Warren and Slimbo could have done differently there. They're both hard battling. And I think at the end of the day, that's just racing, unfortunately. But I know Slimbo will be a little bit furious about that. It's one of those things, isn't it? You're furious at the time, and you'll reflect back on the race and think, you know what, there's not a lot I would have done differently. There's not a lot that would have happened differently. And unfortunately now, Warren has taken itself to retire from the race. And now, pretty much, if the results stay the same, takes himself outside of the championship hunt.
Someone to cut in. Navy is going around the outside of the goat. What a move! Surely he's got it done. Oh, he gets caught on the inside curb. Oh, I thought Navy had that to try and get the move done on the goat. He had the overcommitment. He had the car ahead. He had the car fully ahead of the goat. He just lost it on the curb. What an unbelievable move that would have been.
Well, it's not over yet, because as we head through 22 and 23, Navy is right on the back of the Williams then as we make our way onwards towards turn 1. We're over the shoulder here as we head towards turn 1 on board with Navy. Sean picking himself up a time penalty. But you know what? Toxic staying out this whole time has actually paid dividends in the end. There's only Westy left behind him. He's let all the carnage happen behind him and kept his head still in third place with a T-tray as a front wing.
He's done a fantastic job to get that car around. I don't know how on earth he's still got four wheels on that car, to be honest. Navy is going down round the inside of the goat, down towards the end of the first sector, and he's doing it up into 9th position as well. It's a very good, clean sailing move there. Not as good as what I would have hoped from him, to be honest, if he completed that move around the outside into the final sector. But Navy's still anyways, he's up into 9th. But Toxic, with a front splitter completely gone off that car, Westy 1.3 seconds away. It looks like Westy actually is just beginning to struggle to try and close in that gap. And Toxic is doing such a good job out on track. The gap is now beginning to come down through the corners, but on the straights, it's quite even. So Toxic has just got to try and get to that premium of about lap 18 to lap 23, I think it was, for a set of hard compound of tyres to a set of mediums. And then he'll be focusing on that race. Kalsberg, by the way, as well, leading the race, doing a fantastic job out on track. And I mean, coming into tonight, he has taken every race this season when starting from pole position. Let's just let that sink in for a bit. Kalsberg has taken every race this season when starting from pole position.
So really, the stars are aligned then to crown a champion here tonight. Kalsberg leads Recon by 5.5 seconds. We've got yellow flags there in sector
Slimbo.
3. Is that going to be Slimbo into the wall? Yes, it was. Into that wall there at turn, I think that's turn 17 there.
Cass and Sean are side by side and nearly make contact. And there's left side end plate damage for Cass. Sorry to cut in there, but Cass was trying to go all the way around the outside. It's very similar, to be honest, to the Warren incident with Slimbo.
Cass there, you can see damage to that front wing, and Slimbo has retired from the session in the pit lane. So we are now down to 11 runners, and Spike here, who pitted in early to get himself onto the medium tyres, is now in 11th place, not far away from the points whatsoever. Westy, meanwhile, it's now his turn to try and grab a podium from Toxic here. It just seems Toxic is cursing everyone behind him here, because anyone that tries to overtake him eventually loses their front wing. I wonder how this one's going to end up.
I think Westy, honestly, is probably going to get this move done, if I've got to be honest. You know, third time is a charm, so Westy will be hoping that luck is on his side for sure, and he's looking all over the back of Toxic here, coming through 22 and 23, and I mean, look at this, he could be right past him, down towards turn 1. If he's got that straight line speed, he downs his ERS, actually, so Westy not going to get the overtake done, so possibly down towards turn 6, I'm thinking he'll get the move done. But this is looking in an ever-prevalent situation that Westy could be on for a podium, given that Toxic, of course, will have to pit 4 front wing damage. Westy out on track, though. Is he going to get the move done? The Alfa Romeo man on the back of the Red Bull. A little bit of jumping forward there by Toxic, and that's just giving a little bit of a buffer. So Toxic now still in third.
Well, yeah, I mean, even with a damaged front wing, you can see that it gets a little bit wayward on the exit of turn 7, but maybe with a damaged front wing, that Red Bull is actually quicker in a straight line. Sometimes you do all the hard work to get the setup right and everything. Okay, he might be struggling in the mid-speed corners, but with a T-tray at the front of his car, he might actually be quite quick down the straights now.
Hopefully he's going to be serving biscuits on that T-tray tomorrow for VE Day.
Ah, nice. Westy
had to get on in there.
Oh, I had to. Over the Anderson Bridge through turn 13. Westy trying to get the great exit that he needs to try and get past this Red Bull ahead of him. Westy here looking for a move into 14 maybe. No, not quite. Just a little bit too far back. But as you can see, this is the only battle that's happening right now. The only one that's closer is Abu and Carlsbury. 4.3 separates them right now. That's really the other closest battle on this track. Let's ride on board with Westy for a bit then as we head underneath the grandstand here through turn 20. And no, we're coming up to turn 20 now, through 20 and 21. Let's see, Westy, can he try and find a way past? Now you can see Toxic here is weak through 22 and 23 because he can't carry as much speed. But Westy here, I think, holding back this time because he knows the way he's going to get past is trying to get and maximise the exit off of turn 5.
Oh, and he might actually get it coming through turn 2 here. And to switch it back, but he's nowhere near. And Toxic just looking quicker through that first sector there. Carlsbury 3 second time penalty. Track extending at the final corner. That has been quite prevalent here tonight. People track extending at the final corner. And again, Westy is just not close enough. I'm not sure if he's hanging something back for the second half of this race, or if it just isn't quick enough to try and get past Toxic. And oh my god, he's nearly into the back of Toxic under the brakes. But Westy still in P4. I think he's holding something back for sure, but whether it's him holding it back or if it's his pace remains to be seen. I think it might be the latter, to be honest.
Well, we shall have to wait and see. I think Westy realises that the pit window is coming up very, very shortly, and is it worth trying to undercut an already wounded car? We'll have to wait and see how that goes out. And obviously the undercut will work tremendously against Toxic because he's got to replace that front wing. You can't go onto a set of medium tyres like that. I've been there in his shoes with a damaged car that you try and get all the way to the end of your long, hard tyre stint. It is not easy. And by the time you have a car that works again, you turn in and it actually turns in. It's quite incredible. And then you actually do crash because you don't expect to have that much grip. But Westy here still right on the back of Toxic, keeping him close company as we head through 18 and 19 here, and just keeping the pressure on, keeping that wheel going then as we head through 20 and 21, onwards now towards the final two corners of 22 and 23. Hopefully you've buckled in for this one as we've reached the halfway stage of this race. Then Westy around the outside. It's raining. It's starting to rain as Westy looks to try and put a move on him in towards turn 1. They bang wheels here. Toxic tries to find a way around the outside now of what will be turn 3, and Westy has to back out of it. But it has started to rain here. It's spitting at Singapore.
Another one. This is my first time that I'm going to get a wet race around Singapore. Fantastic.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how prevalent that rain is. It is only spitting right now. Dry tyres are definitely the way to go, but the best way you can tell, it's not always clear over the stream when you're watching the skies for the weather, but have a look at the halo, have a look at the car. You can see there's water dripping down it, and it is beginning to rain, but it's very, very light at the moment. Will it get any heavier?
I think I'll go a set of inters first and then maybe to a set of wets before the end of the race. It remains to be seen. But out on track, Carlsbury has absolutely put the hammer down, and he's on the back of Abu, and it's 4.9. It was 4-point-odd seconds between them, and Abu, I think, is just going to let Carlsbury through here, surely. Carlsbury, yeah, there you go. Carlsbury just lets him through. I think Abu must have front wing damage to lose that time. He has. He's got left, right side, no. Right side and pit damage, that's my eyesight going there.
Left, right, left. Well, Westy, meanwhile, is still on the back of Toxic there. You can see the rain is getting a little bit heavier, but again, Kalsper, who has a chance here to wrap up the championship with a win here tonight. Obviously, he wanted a nice, easy race. He's not going to get that. He's going to get nowhere near an easy race now. The one thing you don't want to do at the start of a race that starts to turn on the weather is be the race leader, because everybody's reacting to you. Do you stay out? Yes, well, I'll pit in. You're at the disadvantage here. 5.6 ahead of Recon, Have to see how that goes. Westy, meanwhile, it wants to try and get this move done on Toxic because he doesn't really want to be held up in the pit lane behind the Red Bull. Obviously, the Red Bull, at some point, I think will be one of the first to take the plunge if they're going onto a set of intermediate tyres. And of course, just because it's raining, James, doesn't mean that the slick tyres aren't the quickest tyre. They still are right now.
Yeah, slick compound of tyres, preferably on a set of hard compound of tyres, will probably be the way to go. Abu has came into the pits, interestingly enough, and he's gone onto a set of intermediates. Cass is on the back of the goat running down towards turn 1 as well, and he commits to move down the inside, off track albeit, but Cass got the move done and had the car slightly ahead into the corner. Might just let him off with that one. He's through and he's up into 8th position. But Abu, interestingly, taking the plunge, going for a set of inters. I think that's about a lap, maybe 2 laps too early.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is slightly too early for my mind. You can't really see any slippery conditions just yet. But you can see Westy's confidence in the car there has gone a little bit.
There was a bit of spray, I think, coming off the Anderson Bridge. So it might actually be next lap around inters, I'm thinking.
Well. I mean... You've got Spike in the pit lane. He's going on to a set of intermediate tyres. He's normally a good character at guessing when to pit in for intermediate tyres. He clearly thinks it's time and it's ready to go. But of course, here at Singapore, it is a long lap here. Recon into the pit lane then from 2nd place. And this is what I was saying. You don't want to be the leader, especially at a track that's 1 minute 40s here. It's 1 minute 40, you're not in the pit lane, onto a set of intermediate tyres. But there goes Recon then, the Dutchman onto inters. Westy, meanwhile, I wonder, Toxic and Westy will surely react to this. And Toxic, at long last, he'll be thanking his lucky stars that he can finally get a new front wing on that car. We've got a Williams off there. That's the Gort. DRS is disabled, so now it is the crossover point. And there's Kalsper making his way still in the 2nd sector. The Gort then still out on track. He's got a little bit of damage to the car. Westy into the pits then. Toxic replacing that front wing. Let's see then, Westy should rejoin ahead of the Red Bull, which he does by a clear margin, because of course he had to pit in to replace that front wing. But there is Kalsper now, tiptoeing his way around. Just wanted to get to the end of this one. Carlsbury into the pits. There goes Sean onto a set of intermediate tyres. As you can see here, a very, very busy pit lane. Cass will be not so happy with that one. The Gort finally gets his way back towards the pit lane. Not sure whether that was a mistake or whether that was contact with another driver. Abu, meanwhile, pretty much got the lap done here. He undercut there. So too did Spike. But let's see if this is going to gain Abu a couple of positions. I think it will, you know. He's going to make his way past the Gort. How about Cass then? Yes, he does. Goes straight through. So Abu then has made the undercut work a dream. He's up to P8.
And the big question is Recon going to undercut Kalsper for the lead of the rest? 31 seconds. It was 33.5 at the start of the lap. So bear that in mind. It's 30.3 now. If it gets to about 28 seconds, these guys are going to be very close to each other coming out of the pits. This could be quite interesting. Recon might have pulled off an absolute blinder here.
Well, this would have been the in-lap to end all in-laps here for Kalsper as he makes his way in towards the pit lane to get onto a set of intermediate tyres now. Lap 18 now becomes lap 19 of the Singapore Grand Prix. We have 13 laps to go here. The intermediate tyres should get you to the end of the race here from this point in, so no worries about that. But on go a set of intermediate tyres. Where is Recon then? He's making his way around 22 and 23. Let's have a look here. Kalsper will get to the pit lane exit. There we go. Recon riding on board now. There is Kalsper making his way out of the pit lane now. Can Recon try and take the lead of this one? Yes, he can. Recon takes the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix and hands himself a vital lifeline in this championship hunt.
Absolute fantastic. A blinder pulled by Recon, quite literally. But now who is the quicker on a set of intermediates? Because this is old-fashioned F1 now. No DRS. Well, they've got to use the ERS, but no DRS out on track. Kalsper looking visibly quicker, though, down in towards the end of the 1st sector than Recon. It's all about time management now, and it's all about the pace of both of these drivers out on track. Forget the rest, I think. This is now going to turn into a bit of a match between these two for the win.
Absolutely. Remember, Recon is 74 points behind Kalsper in the championship. After this, we'll have 3 races to go. Recon, finishing ahead of Kalsper, will take this championship battle to the end, or at least the next race. So this is so important for Recon. He's got to keep that Toro Rosso behind him if he wants any chance of trying to get himself in this championship hunt once again.
Yeah, it's majorly important. I think Carlsberg, to be honest, has just got to react to Recon ahead of him. He's got to focus on the car ahead, not on the cars behind, because, I mean, they're 25 seconds down in terms of Westy in third. Looking at the fastest lap, I thought Recon had the fastest lap, but he doesn't. It's Cass, actually, that's got the fastest lap with a 39 flat. Obviously, that was set in on a dry set of tyres. And, I mean, already, this outlap is going over 2 minutes for Carlsberg. That is how prevalent, and it's about 9 seconds difference between intermediates and dry, so you're really going to see the lap times drop off over the next 3 laps. I mean, we're near lap 20, and it feels like this race has gone on for about an hour already.
Well, Recon here, still in the lead then. 12 laps to go, and they will feel like the longest 12 laps of his life here to try and keep up with the championship battle. Carlsberg then picks up a 3-second time penalty. Toxic, meanwhile, is in 4th place. If he doesn't place higher, he will be out of the championship hunt at this race. The important thing was for all these drivers in the championship hunt that they had to finish ahead of Carlsberg. Anyone that finishes behind has a very, very high risk of falling out of the championship hunt. In fact, Toxic was exactly 75 points behind. Shapalele was exactly 76 points behind. And Warren was 77 points behind. Shapalele and Warren are out of this race. That means they're out of the championship hunt, no matter where Carlsberg finishes. So Toxic here, if the champion isn't crowned here tonight, Carlsberg, then it would be Toxic out of the race, and we'll lose 3 of the championship contenders in this race. We'll be down to the last 2, but there we go. Recon and Carlsberg battling it out, and I believe this is the reigning champion against the champion-elect. Of course, you'd love to say, or I suppose Carlsberg would love to say, he would love to be the champion here tonight, but that's not gone the way so far. Carlsberg, meanwhile, has got away past Sean. He moves himself now up to P5. Carlsberg, I'm sure, would have wanted a nice, easy race all the way to the checkered flag, and this rain has completely changed that outlook.
He's not getting his way of things at all. Recon looking quicker. What Recon has got to do at this stage, because they've both got 3-second time penalties, he's just got to try and keep it from overrunning the curve. He doesn't want to pick up another 3-second time penalty. Neither does Carlsberg. It's really going to be a test of who's going to have the biggest balls really out on the track. And I think in terms of looking through 22 and 23 there, it was Recon, because Carlsberg went very wide indeed. And again through turn 1, Carlsberg may be beginning to struggle, and the champion from last season now beginning to pull out a little bit of a gap, and he just looks a little bit more confident now all of a sudden.
Yeah, absolutely, but that confidence can't be mistaken for complacency. He's got to stay on it now for the rest of this race. These are 11 laps to go. These are 11 crucial laps to go in this championship hunt. The thing that Carlsberg might have held on to was the fastest lap of this race. If it keeps raining, then that pretty much is locked into Cass, so long as he finishes inside the top 10, and with only 11 people running in this race, that shouldn't be too difficult for him to get to the checkered flag. Lap 21 of 31. Recon leads the way and hands himself a lifeline in this championship hunt. Carlsberg in 2nd place. Westy is in 3rd, 24.8 behind Carlsberg. That means he's over 25 seconds behind the race leader. What the whole story of that has not been, if you're only just joining us, and where have you been? Toxic there went the whole hard tyre stint before this rain hit with basically a tea tray on the front of his car. No front wing end plates whatsoever. He did an amazing job of trying to battle in 3rd place and try and hold off drivers behind him. The only problem is that it's cost him a mountain of time, especially for Westy and for Toxic, who really wanted to finish ahead of Carlsberg. Well, unless Carlsberg retires from this race, there won't be a way back in for Toxic in this championship. And I believe, James, you're looking at this battle for 5th place.
No, I was looking at the battle for the lead because I thought Recon nearly hit the wall. Nearly. And again, very close to the wall. Recon has just taken the limit a little bit too much. But the battle for 5th really beginning, and Navy's looking quicker out of these 3. Oh, he nearly hits the inside of the Anderson Bridge. Coming across there. Goodness me, we were so close, inches apart. I'm actually losing a little bit of end play, but Navy looking quick, and we've got Cass and Abu. The battles are just spawning out of absolutely nowhere.
yeah, this rain has really helped these drivers to battle once again. Abu is being closed in by Cass. Of course, Abu came in a lap earlier than everybody else and managed to get himself up to 8th place. Meanwhile, then, this battle for the lead continues through turn 6 and onwards towards turn 7. Recon still leading this way ahead of Kalsper. Meanwhile, then, the battle for 5th is heating up. Carlsbury ahead of Sean and Navy. Navy, of course, wants to get his way back through the field. As you can see there, Sean taking absolute liberties there at turn 21. But of course, if the in-game stewards don't punish you, then there's no reason why you can't do that. The whole point of a racing driver is to find the limits and see where you're not punished, and then keep going with those limits.
Yeah, I watched Navy, to be honest, through there, and Sean fell off the throttle through the corner. That's why he didn't pick up any sort of one or any time penalty. Abu, by the way, is back into the pits. I can only assume that is left side end plate damage, and it is, I think, for a front wing change, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's not. It's just full set of wets.
Well.
Interesting.
He got it right before. Meanwhile, Navy looking for a move then down the inside of Sean then at turn 7, trying to go up the inside, and of course the Haas is around the outside, and Navy, has he got that move done? Yes, he has, in towards turn 8. Well, we were trying to judge that call for Abu earlier on in the stint then when he went onto the intermediate tyres. It turned out to be the exact right call because it earned him a couple of positions. Is this a telling sign that the wet tyres are the way to go?
I've got to be honest, no, because he's lost 8 tenths coming out of the pit lane. So I think he's on the wrong tyres. You'll see the dividends. If the GOAT goes and increases the gap to about 5.5 seconds, as I've literally just proven there, it's now 5 seconds, Abu was on the wrong tyres completely. So he has blown his shot, possibly getting a top 8 finish. But the rain looks like it's beginning to come down a bit heavier out on track.
It is. I have to be honest with you, it is. And the problem is that the call to go onto dry tyres to intermediates is a lot easier than the call to go from intermediates to full wet weather tyres. The problem you're looking out for now is at the edges of the circuit. You can see it's really coming down now. The edges of the circuit, you'll start to see standing water. That's a telltale sign that wet tyres are around the corner, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he will be able to switch onto a set of wet tyres. But Kalsper struggling in these conditions. He really, really is. And Recon here is just trying to keep his cool. And of course, what has turned into an easy race to get to the end, as we've got yellow flags, we've got Abu there who's hit the wall on those wet weather tyres. I wonder if he just hasn't got enough temperature in those tyres. But the rain is really starting to come down now as we make our way through. Spike now gets a 5-second penalty, slap on the wrist straight away for extending track limits. And yeah, wet weather tyres, I don't think they're too far around the corner, to be honest with you, because look at the rain now. It's absolutely chucking it down.
It's like Britain all over again, this. With rain.
And you can see here.
Oh, Navy trying to go around the outside on Coldsbury. Sorry to cut in. Navy's going right around the outside of Coldsbury. This will be a fantastic move when he pulls it off, and he has. Navy round the outside of Coldsbury, but Coldsbury's going to try the switchback. What a brilliant move that is by Navy. You could call him the master of the wet. Coldsbury's going down the inside into the Singapore sling. No way Jose is he going to get through. And Sean's on the back as well. 3-car battle for 5th. Now spawning, but Navy, great move. Coldsbury just went a little bit too deep into the end of the first sector. And Navy is through and he's up to 5th. Takes full advantage with a great move.
Yeah, that all stirred from Carlsbury going wide at turn 7. That just allowed Navy to get the move done, gave him the confidence, and signed, sealed and delivered. He got that move absolutely spot on, saw the opportunity and absolutely took it. Moves up to P5. Carlsbury, meanwhile, picks up another 3-second time penalty. That is going to hurt him towards the end of this race. Okay, it's 25 seconds back from Westy, but Recon will be looking here to just try and keep his cool. And yeah, that rain is so heavy coming down onto the circuit here, but I'm not seeing any standing water on the outside of the circuit just yet. That's normally the telling sign that wet weather tyres should be prepared.
I'm going to say about lap 26, 27 possibly for a set of wet tyres. Carlsbury is in spits.
Yes, this should be, or could be, a switch to the wet weather tyres then.
It is.
Into the pit lane we go, and you can see there are tyres ready. And let's see what goes on. It's another set of inters and a front wing change for Carlsbury then. Well.
He must have picked up end plate damage somewhere.
Yes, but I would have thought then if you're going to change a front wing like that, you would have gone onto a set of wet weather tyres. But back onto intermediates, Carlsbury goes. So obviously drivers here are struggling in these conditions, but they clearly don't think it's time for the wet weather tyres.
Tell you what, I think Recon's beginning to struggle as well, because Carlsberg suddenly is all over the back, coming underneath the grandstand now, through turn 19, then into turn 20 and 21. Carlsberg looking quicker through the middle sector, but it's the final. Oh, and Recon makes a horrible mistake. Carlsberg, is he going to capitalise down the inside into 22 and 23? He is, you know, he's down the inside. Oh, and he was never going to get that one done. Recon always had right away at the corner. He tried, but I think failed, and I don't know why he's weaving, maybe to get heat into the tyres? But no, I think Recon always was going to have that move done around the outside.
Well, the door was always closing, wasn't it? And Carlsberg there, I think he's lucky to keep that car in the right direction. Yeah, I'm just having a look back at it. It wasn't quite half a car alongside. That's normally the telltale sign that you've got to back out of that move. But Carlsberg is living to battle another day. And as this rain starts to fall, Carlsberg cannot make mistakes like that. He's got to keep his cool and see if he can try and pass Recon here. The thing is, when you're into this championship battle, when you know you've got to finish ahead of Recon to seal the championship here tonight, otherwise it just goes to the next round, I guess that's a little bit of pressure off, but Carlsberg will want to get this done tonight, surely.
He will definitely, and I think Carlsberg, 9/10, he is beginning to get back into contention, just coming through into the middle sector now and through the Anderson Bridge section, through the Singapore thing, then into the Anderson Bridge section. He's looking a bit more confident, and he's now out of that dirty air that Recon was giving him, essentially, as he nearly clips the inside of the hairpin there, but Carlsberg's doing a good job out on track. He has gained 2 or 3 tenths back on Recon. Over the course of the next couple of laps, it could be a very telltale sign that Carlsberg could be quicker than Recon, but we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see, first and foremost, if anybody decides to come on for a set of wet compounded tyres. But Carlsberg did go on a set of inters when he came into the pits, and so did Abu when he came in for his front wing change.
Yeah, he went back onto a set of intermediates, having originally got onto a set of wet weather tyres. But you can see the heavens have opened. You saw a replay there of what was happening between the two of them, Recon and Carlsberg, just a lap ago. And it looked like Carlsberg was alongside. It looked like it was going to be halfway. And we saw it in slow motion as Recon gets a little bit nervous on the exit of the final corner. And it's almost as if Carlsberg sort of backed out of it, which then didn't give him the half a car length anymore. And that's what made the contact. So it's one of the half-hearted moves. The half-hearted moves are the ones that are the most dangerous. You think you can go for it and then decide at the last moment, no, actually, I can't do this. And that can actually cause more damage than it resolves. But as I said, Carlsberg has got to make these smart decisions. He knows the pendulum is in his favour. But he's got to play his cards right if he wants to wrap up this championship here tonight.
3.5 tenths gained on this lap so far for Carlsberg. And it's really beginning to fly. The rain, literally, I cannot really see with all these lights that are flashing beside and the cars of how they're going around at speed. It is really becoming difficult for me to actually look visibly at TV pod and think, yeah, it's absolutely pissing it down out on track, and pardon my French there.
Yeah, we'll get the bar of soap over to James as soon as possible in these trying times. But Recon here still holding on and hanging on to the lead of the race, said, with Carlsberg only 6 tenths behind. And with this wet weather, you can see, actually I can see a little bit of a reflection on the track. Standing water is starting to build up on this track here, and we could be seeing almost a finale of the race of Belgium 2008, where the weather conditions deteriorated so much towards the end of the race, but the drivers had to commit to the tyres they were already on. Carlsberg sees the mistake of Recon and closes up right onto the rear diffuser of the Renault here as we make our way now through and tiptoeing our way through turns 21 here. And we're trying to make our way through. You can see the drivers are so nervous to get onto the power through there. Now through 22 and 23. It is absolutely pouring it down, raining cats and dogs at the moment. And you can see here, Recon starts lap 27 in the lead of this race. Carlsberg in second place at the moment, but he's trying to play his cards right. But it's always really easy for me to say, at least, try and play your cards right, keep your cool. But if you're in a championship battle, you know finishing ahead of Recon in this scenario will hand you the championship. But in these weather conditions that are so terrible, it's easier said than done for sure. But he's in the slipstream as we make our way in towards turn 6, now towards turn 7. Will Kalsper go for the move? He thinks about it. Oh, he runs in the back of Recon, and Recon goes straight on. Kalsper waits up for him. At least that's the sporting thing there. But yeah, Kalsper wanting to go down the inside, left his braking late, and then tucked back in, realising it wasn't going to be done, and hits the back of Recon. Now, if that's going to harm anyone, that's going to harm Kalsper. Is there any damage to that car?
No, no damage to that car. Would have been right side end plate damage. There might be a winglet missing, I'm not sure. But it looks as if he's got away with that one scot-free. The question I was going to ask before they made contact is, would you pit in for a set of wet compound of tyres if you were Westy or Toxic in behind to try and get an undercut towards the end of the race?
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? But the only problem is that if there's no sort of standing water on the track here, you can see there is in places, but not the way you'd want it to be. It's not a clear cut opportunity to get into a set of wet weather tyres. It is so difficult to predict what it's going to happen here, and because it's a street circuit, you find that normally street circuits have a pretty good drainage system around the track, so it can take slightly longer for the track to get to that wet weather condition. But obviously the intermediates are okay for now. When you get to that crossover point and you're in a real chance to grab a win or a championship battle, the last thing you really want to do is make the wrong decision and make the wrong move. But with Westy and Toxic, they'll probably feel there's nothing to lose here apart from that last podium spot. Toxic will definitely be thinking about wet weather tyres. For sure he'll be thinking about it. At this moment in time, if it finishes like this, he's out of the championship battle. He's got to do something to get himself back in, at least a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, Toxic should pit because he's got left side end plate damage as well on that car, and in fact he's running his T-tray again. His right side end plate is slightly damaged, but his left side is certainly there.
His left side end plate is definitely gone, but his right side is still there, so it's not quite a T-tray just yet. Lap 28 of 31. But it happens. It happens. The stream just froze, and it all went a bit wrong. But glad you're back now and joining us for the final 3 laps of this race. 2 and a bit if you're picky. If you've missed all of that, well, you haven't missed too much. Recon's still ahead of Calsper, as James was just taking us through there. Obviously, you can see now the rain has eased off, which is probably why, James, that they didn't decide to go for the wet weather tyres in the first place. You see, the drivers always know more than us, James. Is Recon getting a little bit nervous there out of the final corner? With that rain easing up here, it will be intermediate running surely to the end of this race.
Yeah, definitely. And I think obviously the Inters, everyone rightfully staying out on a set of intermediate competitors. It's normally where you get a little bit of a weather slot within the race. The heavy rain comes down for about 10-15 minutes, then eases towards the end of the race. That's exactly what we have seen. Calsper on the back of Recon, 0.4 of a second away. He was this close before he went into the back of him under the brakes. Is he going to do the same thing again? No. Recon measuring well, Calsper measuring his braking point well as well, and both of them 3.5 of a second away. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2 somewhere, and I have a feeling that might have been the Gort losing a position to Spike. I think he did. Yeah, damage to Gort's car completely.
Yeah, that's a heavy amount of damage to the front wing there. He's obviously made contact with the wall at turn 9. But as we now wind our way down in this Singapore Grand Prix, Recon, this is the position he wants to be in. This was the best case scenario for Recon, just finishing ahead. As you can see there, the Gort pulls way off the track there. I think that is going to be a retirement at the hairpin there.
He should keep going. He should keep going. He's in the points.
He is in the points, actually. Well, I'm not sure what's happening with the Gort. He is trying to turn his way around here. That might have been a lock-up of some kind, but now he's just trying to get his way back onto the track here. Abu's in 11th place there. That is going to be a huge battle for that final point there, as Calsper gets a 10-second time penalty. My goodness, well, I'm sure that's going to be contested. The 3-second penalties cannot be contested, but the 10-second penalty certainly can if Calsper does the right procedure at the end of this race. However, the rain, to me, is, well, it's lighter. I thought it had stopped by the camera angle I had chosen, but Recon now makes his way around the final corner to start the final lap here at Singapore, and he's just got one more lap to keep his championship hopes alive and any chance of retaining his title for the final races of the season. Only about 1 minute 50 to go.
Oh, Calsper nearly into the wall. Goodness me, I was going to say he's really invigorated to try and get onto the back of Recon. Bit too invigorated, I think. Gortz came into the pits. I would have stayed out personally if I was the Gort. He's going to lose that position to Abu. Just to speak about as well that 10-second time penalty, never have I seen ever an unfair penalty given like that. That was never a 10-second time penalty.
Well, that might be investigated afterwards, especially if Calsper follows the procedures after this race. But what's for sure, though, is that it won't affect his position too much. The Gort has now retired from the session entirely, and we're now down to 10 runners. So as long as Cass makes it to the checkered flag, he'll score the fastest lap of the race. Bonus point there for himself and for Ferrari. Meanwhile, then Recon making his way across the Anderson Bridge and now towards turn 13. Calsper is just trying to find any way past Recon right now. Ever since that rain started to fall, Recon pitted in a lap earlier than Calsper. Calsper was really in no man's land when it came to the call there. The DRS was disabled when Calsper was in the second sector of the track, and he had to try and tiptoe his way around. He lost around 6 seconds, Calsper, to Recon on that pit window, and Calsper gets himself another 5-second penalty there for exceeding track limits. Recon here just has to keep his cool underneath the grandstand. We go in through turn 19, onwards towards turns 20 and 21. Recon here may have just kept his championship hopes alive as he makes his way now towards the final 2 corners. Recon wins the Singapore Grand Prix and takes the championship to the next round as the fireworks go off. He's earned that one. What a drive from the Dutchman there. Calsper finishes in second place then, which means Toxic is now out of the championship running. Westy, meanwhile, is going to take a podium here in the Alfa Romeo. A good drive from him. He kept his cool when battling Toxic, who had a damaged front wing at the start of this race, but he makes his way towards the podium there and gets a well-earned 15 points for his team. Toxic, although he's out of the championship hunt, will get clear air between himself, Shapalele and Warren as the sort of best of the rest as he makes his way towards the line. 4th place for the Red Bull driver. Navy tiptoeing his way now towards the checkered flag, as it always, when the heavens start to open, do you get that sense the race drags on, especially if you're in no man's land. But he makes his way around the final corner, and Navy will pick up a handful of points here by finishing in 5th place. Sean there in 6th place, trying to just tiptoe his way home, with Cass not too far behind. Cass, meanwhile, of course, will get the fastest lap of the race bonus point then, as he makes his way now through the final double left-hander. Sean comes across the line in 6th. Cass comes across the line in 7th and scores that extra bonus point. In fact, he moves up to 6th through penalties there. Carlsbury coming towards the line there, and of course he lost that front wing earlier on as well with that incident between himself and Toxic, but he finishes in 8th place, and Spike here will finish in 9th place. So long as he makes it to the checkered flag, he will be scoring those 2 points, and I think he's just having a little bit of fun here. He's got damage to that front wing, and he's just trying to get the rear end out whenever he can to try and drift his way through. He's still going to make the checkered flag in order to score those points. Abu finishes in 10th place, a lap down on the race leader. But your race winner here for the Singapore Grand Prix. We go again for the championship at the next round. In the meantime, Recon wins in Singapore. How crucial could those 7 points be that have been taken out of that championship lead? The gap to the leaders now comes down to 67 points. Sure, Recon will have it all to do in the next round, but for now, he's your Singapore race winner.
Fantastic race from both of them actually out on track. Calsper is so unlucky to be picking up 10 and 15 seconds worth of time penalties, which were not deserved at all. Sure, he will contest those within the stewards room. He drove well. Got to have a big shout out as well to Toxic, finishing in 4th with his T-tray out on track. Half a T-tray in the end as well, coming across the line, but finished 4th and continued on most valiantly. And I think 4th position, for everything that happened around him, is an absolute godsend of results. So well done to him.
Absolutely. So it is Recon who takes the win here. Calsper in 2nd place with Westy in 3rd. Toxic in 4th with Navy in 5th. Cass in 6th with Sean in 7th, Carlsbury 8th, Spike in 9th, and Abu rounds out the top 10. Non-finishers, the Gort, Slimbo, Warren and Shapalele. Well, what that means, James, is that we get to go to the next round to try and decide the championship there. Only this time, it's going to be a much bigger task on Recon's hand. The next race we go to will, of course, be the Russian Grand Prix for the next round of this one. That will be next week here on the channel. And don't forget as well, that with the championship standings, of course, updated 67 points between Calsper and Recon to decide this one. And of course, don't forget, after the Brazilian Grand Prix, which is the last round of the season, we could of course have the TTL F1 Challenge Cup, which is a 100% race around Silverstone. So that is going to be a cracker there. Hopefully you're going to join myself and James for what will be a fantastic 52 laps around the Silverstone circuit. But well, James, the championship marches on to Russia.
Can't wait. I think Recon is in the driving seat now going into next week. Carlsberg, of course, really unlucky, I think, picking up penalties. And just to speak about that as well, Carlsberg had 3 seconds more than Recon before he got that 10-second time penalty, so the result would not have changed if Carlsberg had finished 2nd without getting that 15 seconds worth of penalties. But honestly, looking forward to it. Recon obviously taking the pole and the win last time out in Italy, and has obviously benefited from Carlsberg being on pole tonight, and Carlsberg's 100% record gone as well.
Yeah, that's true as well. Only a handful of times this season has the pole sitter not won the race in the next session, but that is Recon's 2nd win of the season, and Carlsberg has 3 wins to his name as well. So it's going to be a close one. What I will say is that if it goes his way, obviously 7 points between them. Even if you include the fastest lap of the race, the gap then will go down to 59 points if you include the fastest lap that Recon could get. So the cards are heavily in Calsper's favour as we head towards Russia. But as one legendary commentator used to say, James, anything can happen in Formula One, and it normally does.
It normally does, and it probably will.
And it definitely will, probably. So make sure you do join us next week for the Russian Grand Prix, where it will be yet another title decider. I wonder how many races we're going to say that. This is a potential title decider. But Russia could be the chance for Calsper to wrap it up all over again. He'll get another attempt at it. This time, the points are much more heavily in his favour. Don't forget as well, we have TTL F1 League 2 tomorrow night, where you can join, I believe, James and Paco for that one. Correct me if I'm wrong, James.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Good. I always want to be right. And don't forget a whole host of other events. I believe CRC is on the Saturday, or am I wrong about that one?
Yeah, we've got touring cars coming back on Saturday. Myself and Ash Richardson going to be taking you through that one. Can't wait to have him in the box.
Fantastic. And again, apologies about the stream cutting out towards the end of that race. It happens. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a bore there, and hopefully Honey Badger there in charge of the graphics and the main stream and everything was able to keep you entertained with some good music. Fingers crossed that happened. But anyway, that'll do it for tonight's stream. Make sure you do tune in. Make sure you subscribe down below and click the notification bell so you don't miss a single race here on TTTV. Make sure you follow the league on Twitter as well. It's at TTL_F1. You can follow me on Twitter if you really want to, at KS McGinley, and you can also follow James as well at B52Head. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. I've been Kieran McGinley.
I've been James Head.
Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.